So this is a 2026 snapshot. It is from America's Quarterly, and it's going through. They do this for all. They did this for all countries. They did a special report on what they called the Trump doctrine, and then they kind of boil it down to all the different countries in the world, really, for that matter. But in particular in the region. And then they in some of them they have this approval rating for the president. This one says 57%. I don't know what that means. Some they don't. I looked at like Panama and other countries. But here's the thing. This is what this is breaking down. Let's look at these graphs to start. So over here, you're looking at the projected GDP growth over the next year or two, along with projected inflation. You can see them both going up. I'm highlighting this in part to say, look, I've made this point before that DR, I don't believe is cheap. It's just less expensive than the United States. And you can see the rate of inflation is below the GDP growth projection, but still, it is inflating. It is becoming more expensive as a country. So just something to be aware of. The other thing down here you can see is some of the key figures on this. So GDP growth you see is 4.5%, inflation rate 4.2, fiscal balance is negative 3.2. What that means essentially is that that's the gap between how much the country is taking in and how much the country needs to spend. They're negative 3.2%. So they'll need to fill that gap. Probably in the short term with borrowing. We'll talk about debt here in a moment, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. In fact, this is the beginning of the topic of this video, which is the one thing DR needs to do this year. China's share of export value, if anybody's interested, is only 2.8%, and the U.S. share of export value is 59%. So when we talk about the DR being in bed with the United States, I mean, you can see financially, economically, you have to be. You're going to serve a superpower in this world. The DR is going to serve the United States, if you will. All right, let's read this part right here. DR enters 2026 pursuing ambitious economic goals, yet confronting significant security challenges. Abinader expects the country to achieve investment grade, this is big, by 2028. If you don't know what investment grade means, essentially means that Moody's, S&P, Fitch, these are credit rating agencies like TransUnion, Equifax, and the other one. I can't think of the other one right now. Somebody might know it. Drop it in the chat. By the way, hit the like button. This gets this thing reach. So countries and companies get credit ratings just like we do. Ours is a numeric stage. The country and company one is it's a huge spread of like there's so many different ratings. But in the general, there are two classes of rating. At the top, there's a whole bunch of ratings in what are called the investment grade category. And at the bottom, there are a whole bunch of ratings in the speculative or junk rating category. DR falls in the junk rating category, but over the last few years, it's ticked up. In fact, in 2025, ticked up again with Moody's to being right below one or two ticks down from tripping into the investment grade credit rating. And I would say to you that by 2028 is a great goal. And everything that we talk about needing to be done, and we'll talk about it today, corruption, healthcare, criminal reform, infrastructure, electricity, like all the things DR needs to continue to grow, keep up with, or catch up with, all great. They all pale in comparison from the administration's perspective, this is my take, to investment grade credit rating. And here's why. At investment grade credit rating, you go from speculative into the investment category. Even if it's at the low end, your interest rates on your debt slash. You can refinance. You can get way lower cost of debt, way lower, which is a big, big win. Number two, there are hedge funds, pension funds that are barred legally from placing any dollars in an investment, in a bond, in a country or company that is speculative rated or junk rated. The moment you jump into investment grade, a hedge fund, a pension fund can actually start to get exposure to this emerging market, like the Dominican Republic, or like a company that goes from kind of the pink sheets, maybe their credit rating improves and they become an investment grade company. So these are things like you're going to attract a lot of foreign capital. You're going to be able to issue bond debt at a cheaper rate and refinance your existing debt. Beyond anything else, all moves, infrastructure growth, reforms, corruption reform, all of it points to one thing. And that is, going back to this, let me get back on here, investment grade rating by 2028. That is my take. I'm curious if anybody disagrees. Let me know. Does anybody disagree with credit rating? Again, not being the only, there's all the things we talked about. I know people are passionate about different things that DR needs to improve upon, and they want to see that happen. But credit rating to me is the end result of all of it. It's like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? All these things, corruption, blah, blah, blah. Well, credit rating. Like the North Star is let's get to investment grade credit rating. That's it. Money talks. So by 2028, he wants to double GDP, create a 1.5 million, almost 1.7 million new jobs, and eliminate extreme poverty by 2036. Now, he'll be obviously long gone, but I'm sure he's planning on his administration continuing on, his party continuing on. And he wants to set the agenda to eliminate extreme poverty by 2036, which stands in DR to be about 4%. Extreme poverty. Total poverty, 20-ish%. Total like wealth, probably 20-ish%. Big middle class here, believe it or not. And then 4-ish% right now are considered extreme poverty. Despite steady growth, the tax to GDP ratio remains low, and the IMF has called for bolstering the electricity sector. Huge, right? Ooh, what did I just hit? Huge. The electricity sector needs to obviously have a lot more. Well, I shouldn't say. There's a lot of attention on it, but it needs to get traction. Abinadier's broad reform agenda includes a new penal code taking effect in August that classifies new crimes and increases prison sentences. The administration has deported thousands of Haitians, designated Haitian gangs as terrorist organizations, and has authorized the U.S. military to operate in restricted areas of the country on a temporary basis to assist the U.S. efforts to combat drug trafficking, most notably with Venezuela. The Dominican Republic is set to host the Summit of the Americas. It was supposed to have happened in 2025. It was postponed to 2026, but I don't know the dates yet, and that was because of insecurity or instability in the region. So this is what the 2026 agenda looks like. Okay, this is like a very good snapshot of most of the 2026 agenda. What I would say, most notably, that's missing from this and any other agenda I look at, I'm curious if you guys know what it is. Like, what's the one thing, and it's consistently missing? It's mentioned on occasion, but it's never in that like bullet list of all the things that need to happen. Can anybody guess what that one thing is? Drop it in the chat, and we'll come back to that. But I want to go to one part of it before. Well, let me do this. Let's talk about the one thing. The one thing the Dominican Republic can't get wrong in 2026. If we're going to see investment grade credit rating by 2028, if we're going to see the growth of this economy, if we're going to see that negative 3.2 GDP gap, GDP to debt gap that we have right now, where we're going to have to borrow to get yourself like even. If you want all of that to happen, there's one thing that has to happen this year, and it was attempted last year, and it didn't happen, and that is fiscal reform, tax reform, broadening the formal labor economy, simplifying the tax code, and getting more tax revenue on the books. In other words, DR doesn't have a debt problem. Debt to GDP is around 60%. That's a healthy ratio. DR is a growing country, like a growing company. You need to bring in capital to fuel that growth. Roads, bridges, Wi-Fi, infrastructure, and there is a lot of investment, despite what many people want to like hate on. Like it all goes to the government's pockets. Every government has corrupt politicians. The U.S. is absolutely not exempt from that. But there is money being funneled into initiatives that are important in this country, and you do need to borrow sometimes. You out? See you, buddy. Thank you. You do need to borrow sometimes when you're in a growth phase in order to fund all of what needs to happen. And right now you can see it. The growth is outpacing their ability to keep up on things like the electric distribution grid, right? So the one thing that needs to happen this year, in my opinion, is robust and well accepted to the extent that it can be by all society, fiscal reform. When this was attempted last year, it was unilateral, it was top down, it was shoved on people. And I believe that was done on purpose. I believe it was, let's put something out that we know will rile up the population. Let's cast like the furthest lure we can out there, the most extreme reform bill we can. Let's understand people will get riled up. Then, because we're good politicians and we can project this, we can back down. We can succumb to the will of the people. It's good optics. It's good media. And then when we reintroduce something, probably more like what we really want, it doesn't feel extreme. If they introduce what they really want, no matter what it is, if it was $1 more in tax revenue generated from it, the country would revolt. Nobody wants tax reform. Nobody wants a broader tax. Nobody wants to be exposed to have to pay taxes more. So I believe their calculus was, let's go big and crazy. We know what's going to happen. Let it simmer, pull it back. And now let's introduce what we really want. Now that we've sort of like pushed people further down, like we pushed their will further out, and now they'll feel like they're getting something better than what we were going to propose. Like, okay, it wasn't that bad bill from last year. This one's better. But had they proposed the one right now that they want to propose, or this year that I think they'll propose, that would have been met with a lot of resistance. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of like a negotiation 101 tactic. In fact, those that hate Trump, that's the art of the deal. That's his, you can see it in everything. Like, we're going to take over Greenland. And then he kind of like, whoa, what do you mean? He's crazy. He creates this hubbub, and then he backs it down and he gets what we don't know yet, which is what he really wants. Maybe he really does want Greenland. I don't know, but that's the art of the deal. And I think Abinader took a page out of that, to be honest with you, last year. My take. I have no inside knowledge on that. So anyway, that is that. Now, let me see what we got here. Anything else? The Dominican Republic isn't cheap, but the Punta Cana and Terrenas make it look more pricey than it really is, because Puerto Plata is cheap by comparison. Sure, of course, Albert. Yeah, absolutely. When you look at, like, I always say it, like, living in Punta Cana, you're going to pay a premium. And any vendor that you hire that comes inside of that peaje into Punta Cana is charging you 20% more. You just have to accept that. It just is. Puerto Plata is way less expensive. Jarabacoa, way less. Santo Domingo in many areas, way less expensive. Not way less, but less expensive. Terrenas is more expensive. Santiago is not as cheap as people think it is. It used to be. It's coming up because of all the infrastructure there that's being invested in, and so on. So anyway, that is what I got. The one thing that's been missing, in my opinion, from this outline and many others out there that talk about where things are going this year, I haven't seen anybody say it yet. Let's see. Borrow for expansion, save on contractions, taxes, and reinvest. The one thing that isn't mentioned is education. If I had to like criticize the administration on, like, look, they are presiding over a time of extreme growth. I don't know if anybody knows how to get their hands around it. The country is in a growth mode big time. I think they've done all right. Not perfect, not bad. They've done all right. I'll just say that. However, the one thing that's consistently absent is education. I just don't see massive initiatives on education here. And that's going to fuel a lot of people's perception of things, right? Like, you don't want an educated population. We see why, because you want to keep people down, right? But education has to be at the center of it if there's going to be any progression in this country. And I don't see that. That said, everything to me points toward, how do we get to investment grade credit rating, period, full stop. All right, I want to talk about a big part of this, which is the criminal code part. I'm going to go into depth with that, but let me look at a couple of other comments here. So Das Fad said, fiscal reform is always an uphill push. Nobody likes to talk about more taxes. There's another problem with all the corruption scandals going on, like Senasa. People will be rightfully unwilling. Das Fad, I agree with everything you said. Here's one thing. I try to be very like practical on the language here. When you say all the corruption scandals, I know of two. I'm sure there are some others. I know of two. There is the Novasco alleged scandal on real estate purchases in La Romana and Punta Cana. And there's Senasa. I've done a video on Senasa. It's 3 months old. People are like, why don't you talk about it? I'm like, because you're behind me. Go back 3 months and watch my whole video on Senasa. When it first broke, I did a full video on YouTube on it. But I know of those two. Maybe there's more, but most of the time when people say there's more, they're allegations of corruptions, allegations of scams, allegations of scandals, nothing proven. Or it may be a situation of breach of contract, like certain developers in the area that are well behind on developing and finishing projects. People just they lump them into scam, and I think that's dangerous. They breach contract, but they haven't run away. They haven't taken people's money and they're not trying to complete the job, like in the case of, say, Novasco, or what's alleged with Novasco, hasn't been proven yet. So I just want to make sure I'm clear that it's alleged. And then with Senasa, I mean, what's been alleged there? If it was 15 billion pesos stolen, maybe more now, I don't know. Like, that whole thing is clear as far as what the allegation is. But beyond that, I don't know of other scandals. So I want to be careful, because I think some of what I do is I come to the people think you could just defend DR, and I'm like, no, I don't. Sure, it's my home. Keep in mind, it's where I'm raising my kids. So I want to defend where I've made home. But at the same time, being practical, like like sometimes we say, oh, all these scandals like Senasa, and man, it's like, okay, and like, what other ones? So let me know, because if there are more, I need to know what they are. To pay more, yes. I agree with you. It was a rope-a-dope, but that doesn't fly when it's low trust in government. 100%. I don't disagree with you, but I think the populace, again, if they didn't rope-a-dope, then whatever they propose would get that much resistance. They'll get resistance no matter what they propose. I just believe it'll be less. And this may go to the whole, like, well, it's an uneducated population. We can control them a little bit. Papa Penguin, I have concerns that continued inflow of foreign capital at record amounts is going to work against efforts at corruption reform. What are your thoughts? It's a fair point. Let me share this. Let me get rid of, how do I do this? I forget how to do this. So I need to stop that. I'm going to share one more screen here. Where are you? Right here. So let me share this with all of you. I thought this was really interesting. Let me come back here and get rid of that comment on screen. I'm doing everything manually here, everybody, so bear with me. Okay. So I don't know if anybody heard this. I did a reel on it, but what just happened? Oh, there we go. There is this article in De Ultimo Minuto says new criminal code will come into effect in August 2026. Maybe some of you did. I don't know. I didn't hear about this, but I was even like, is it proposed for 2026? Is it like being voted on in August 2020? Like, no, it's done, approved. Implementation is August of 2026. Let me know if you guys have heard of this, because I hadn't. And this is what's interesting about this criminal code. So it says, starting in August 2026, DR will begin to apply the new penal code following its promulgation this Sunday by President Abinader after its final approval in the National Congress last Thursday. They replaced the whatever. All right, we're going to get into it. Introduces more than 70 new criminal figures, strengthens prevention, protection, and punishment mechanisms, and incorporates socio-judicial measures focused on social reintegration and citizen security. So here, they classified a bunch of new crimes for the first time ever. Some that many people have said to me, like, they don't deal with this. So I think it like, well, here they are. We'll see what the execution looks like, but these are crimes on the book now. Femicide, contract killing, cyberbullying. That one gets people's attention. Like, oh, so if I sound mean online, you're going to come after me. I don't know. I'd have to see exactly what they mean by cyberbullying. Economic violence, the dissemination, of deep fakes for blackmail, pyramid schemes, self-kidnapping. Somebody laughed at this and I'm like, dude, this happens a lot here. Like, what do you mean self-kidnapping? That's ridiculous. Like, no, that's a problem. So I'm glad my wife and I were talking about it over a week ago. Like, they have to root out self-kidnapping. And then we saw this. Incitement to suicide, obstruction of justice, and doping with harmful effects. Criminal legal liability of legal persons is also recognized in crimes against humanity. Genocide and forced disappearance are classified. Here's a big one. One of the most significant changes is the increase in the maximum prison sentence to 40 years and the possibility of accumulation of sentences in cases of multiple offenses. Before, I believe, the maximum was 30, and even with accumulation. Now it's 40 years for a sentence, maximum accumulation of 60 years. So it literally doubled from 30 years maximum accumulation to 6. So in other words, if you're convicted of multiple crimes, before the most you could get was 30 years. My understanding. I might be a little off. Let me know if I'm wrong. Now it's 60 years. To me, that's a step in the direction of saying, hey, we want to crack down and make sure that we are known for more about being a lawful society. We'll talk about everything else in a second here, but let me just get through this. Post-penitentiary measures are contemplated, such as the registry of sex offenders or registration of sex offenders, post-sentence surveillance, and re-education and social reintegration programs. In terms of rights and protection, the code contemplates stronger protection orders for victims of gender-based and domestic violence and extends to 30 years the statute of limitations for sexual offenses against minors and vulnerable persons counted from when the victim reaches the age of the majority. So the statute of limitations, I don't know what it is right now, will go to 30 years for sexual offenses against minors, 30 years from the time that person reaches the age of majority. As far as corruption, the new legislation toughens sanctions, extends statute of limitations on corruption cases, and it disqualifies people from holding public office for those who commit these crimes. The government highlighted that this reform not only seeks punishment, but also adopts a preventative and resocializing approach aligned with principles of democratic law. Okay, so on that one, on the corruption one, this is my take. Be curious to see what you guys think about this. This is my take. I think that the biggest complaint on corruption isn't necessarily whether or not people are like, it's not that they never ever find it, they never ever prosecute, they never ever convict. They don't do it on every case. I understand that, but they do convict. The problem has always been the severity of sentencing. It's like in-home arrest, a slap on the wrist, that kind of thing. I think that's been more the concern I hear with corruption, that it exists, A, and B, when it is prosecuted, they barely get any impact. This is saying, hey, look, if we keep up at least the rate of prosecutions for corruption, which this is statistically have increased significantly under Abinader, not in his own administration yet. Sanasa might change that. And that's what I talked about in my Sanasa video that I did a few months ago. But if it does maintain at least the rate of prosecution, the consequences for that prosecution did just up. We'll see what execution is. We'll see what the execution looks like. A lot of people I know are I'm looking at comments, sorry, are always skeptical about the future. I understand. But I lost myself there. Let me remove this. Here's what I would say. Everybody has a right to feel how they feel, of course. Past performance, you could think, is indicative of future. Past performance is not indicative. I come from the mindset that personality isn't permanent, and people and governments and companies and all of that, people change. Institutions change. Governments change. You see it around the world. It does happen. Governments ascend, governments descend, people ascend, people descend, so on and so forth. I believe, my take, and this might be a little airy-fairy for some, I believe that we are in a moment that DR has never seen. This level of economic growth, this level of attention, this level of partnership with the United States, all of it, this level of logistic support they can provide to countries like the United States through manufacturing. So I believe we're in an era we've never seen. So I don't like to lean on the past when we've never seen this version of the future. I believe that politicians are corrupt, no matter where they are. United States, left, right, down here in DR. It's not really left, right, but you get my point. And I believe that corruption, it means like, how do I line my pockets the most? This being a new sort of era for DR, to me, is, wait, there's a lot of money in legitimacy. So if we like really foster the growth of this country, if we do get to a place of investment grade rating, like, we get to line our pockets still. There's always going to be some on the take, always going to be money on the take, but there's actual profit in the legitimacy. So I think and hope that the path forward is different than the path that's been. But we'll see. We will see. Let me go back to some of these of the comments here. Experian was the one I forgot. Thank you. Mommy's advice. Thank you. Manchester, New Hampshire. Good to see you. Let's see. Dominican Republic isn't cheap. We talked about that. Norbert. Have you seen the latest Vitória headlines about the impressive amount of foreign investment that the Dominican Republic will receive this year? I'm sorry. Yes. I have to look into the depths of it. I'm going to give you my take. I haven't read deep into it, so I'm just going to give you my take. And you might be like, nope, article doesn't say that at all. And that's okay. We're here live, right? This is what we do live. But I'm going to give you my take. Somebody else asked about that before, and I completely forgot to get back to it. Let me talk about it. Why I believe Fitur 2026 is making massive headlines for DR is because of the presence of Grupo Punta Cana at that event and what they're saying they're going to do. Let me contrast and compare for you, okay? And again, this is like, tell me if this is not accurate in the headlines. What I've heard is record investment coming into DR. I've heard a soccer stadium being built, I think, in the Punta Cana area, like the Grupo Punta Cana, like their area. And I've heard a focus by them on sports and on luxury, meaning upmarket. I've talked about this for a while, folks. I've said DR is going upmarket. They'll always have their all-inclusives, but when you look around the country, Four Seasons and Meaches, A-Rod Project in Rio San Juan, the crackdown in Sosua to elevate that area's standing as a family destination. What you're seeing built in by eBay, the World Trade Center in both Santo Domingo, Santiago, the monorail system, right? The W coming here, the Ritz-Carlton, the St. Regis in Cap Cana. This market's going up market. It is. It'll have its budget traveler stuff, but it's going up market. When you look at all of that with the back, with the back reputation, or the reputation for the group fueling all of this, Grupo Punta Cana, their reputation of execution, I think that's why you're seeing the mass investment. I'll compare and contrast it to Cap Cana. Beautiful area. 2 years ago, they broke ground on CONCACAF 1, a stadium, a soccer stadium that's going to be built in Cap Cana. Have you seen it? 3 years ago, there was talk of breaking ground or the development of a supermarket right outside of Cap Cana's gates, kind of where Las Canas is. Have you seen it? A year and a half ago, there was talk of Cleveland Clinic or another major medical provider coming into Punta Cana. Have you seen it? So what I see is a doubling down by the one group that has a deep reputation, that's Grupo Punta Cana, of execution at Fitur, saying we're going up market, we're going sports, and here's our plan. And then they look at everything else, like they built the airport, they built this overpass recently, they've got the cultural center, they've got the Coral Reef Restoration Center, they're ahead of the curve on sargassum. Okay, yeah, we're willing to invest in this country with this group at the lead. And my understanding is the proprietor or the founder of Grupo Punta Cana, Frank Ranieri, might be sort of tapped by the president, or has been tapped by the president, to really get out in front leading the future of this initiative for the country. So that alignment of interest, I believe, is probably why, but maybe the articles say something different. So please let me know if I'm wrong on that. Anybody that knows more than I do. I'm with you on, I'm seeing these things. My wife told me this morning about the soccer stadium thing. So I'm literally going, what I don't like to do, I'm doing it. I'm going secondhand here. I usually like to be well-researched, but we're live, folks. We're live. Jamie, have you had the chance to become the mayor of Punta Cana? If you had the chance, would you? No. And what would you change? P.S. You got my vote. No, I don't like the world of politics. I don't think there's enough accountability. And I would say that about Trump, Biden, Kamala Harris, Obama. It doesn't matter. I don't like the world of politics. I think they're all co-opted. I think they're all corrupt in some way, shape, or form. I think they all enrich themselves through all of this. But if I were mayor of Punta Cana, I'm not going to be. I'll take the other part of the question. Like, what would I change? Again, mayor of Punta Cana. If like at the government level, if I could wave a magic wand, driving would become much safer and education would be a bigger focus. Those would be two biggies. There's other stuff, but those would be two biggies. But in Punta Cana specifically, I would be all in on the road infrastructure. That would be my number one thing. With the amount of people moving here, 140-ish thousand people here, projected to go to 300,000. There's some roads that are popping up. They're not well socialized. They're not well known, but you gotta build another road next to Avenida Barceló that goes into downtown that's only for trucks and buses. Like, you can do that. There's room on the other side. You can cut that through up into Cortecito Corrales. Build more of these overpasses, like funnel all the money you can. Drill deeper for drainage in Cortecito. Like, just clean that up. You know what I mean? Like, I would be all in on roads. I think that's my first thing. Power's not an issue in Punta Cana. There's plenty of stores. There's plenty of all of that. I would be, and I could be not thinking. Somebody might say something like, not this, and I'll be like, oh, no, that. But what jumps to my mind right away would be road infrastructure, making sure there's ample roadways for the amount of people that are coming here, moving here, and even driving. I'll share this. I know a lot of business owners who have said we've struggled with our land. I'm like, why? Like, well, because we've had to now build parking lots. And this is a sign of a middle class. Before, it was just people would show up on a moto, or then they would buy a moto. Now a lot of our employees have cars, first-time drivers, first-generation drivers. So there's more and more people with cars, more and more people moving here, So I would say more roads. That's my take. Skeptical, generally very difficult to tax people in the Caribbean. Yeah, it's going to take incentives to make sure that companies want to formalize their labor. That's what it's got to be. That's going to be number one. It's got to be oh my God, it's such a good idea for us to formalize our labor. That's my take. Bar for expansion, save on contractions, taxes, and reinvest. Yeah, Richard, I love that. You know what? I sit here talking for an hour and you say things much more succinctly than I do. Dash Fad, fiscal reform is always an uphill push. We talked about that. Let me see what we got down here. Skeptical says, I always prefer a consumption tax. I'm a fan of that as well. I am. In the US, if they said no more income tax, all of that, it's 20% on anything you buy, I'm good with that. That would be me. I don't know if that's the right percentage, but you get my point. Bobby, what did you read about, my friend? Let me know. We got Corazon, corruption, Caso Calamar, Caso Pulpo. I have to look that up. I'm not overly familiar with that. Raf, good to see you. New laws to prosecute crime can be good if carried out in a just way. Also, laws against corruption, reducing corruption is key for DR to advance further into the future. Well said, my friend. Ricardo, greetings from Charlotte, North Carolina. Speaking of new penal code corruption, have there been any updates to the case against the owner of the jet set, the inspector certification process? I haven't seen anything recently. There was some stuff in the news about the family, further investments the family is making, but I haven't seen anything beyond that. So it's a fair question. I'm getting curious now. I'll have to look at that. Femicide is the murder of someone just because they are a girl, lady. I hear you right? Yeah, Bobby, I think this is femicide is a term, and I you know what, the way I've always interpreted it is the amount of domestic violence against women that ends in their death. So it is a specific crime it's a homicide like anything, right? But like, because of the amount of domestic violence that is in especially like poorer or lower or lower educated neighborhoods here, what you would call quote unquote third world neighborhoods here. I think that the disproportionate amount of violence against women in those domestic situations, they want to label it and ostracize it and have a specific like kicker, if you will, for penalizing this femicide. That's my understanding. Somebody might know better than me. They are in the law here, but I'm just giving you my take. Increase education and programs to help criminals reintegrate into society with a good trade is important as well. Amen. Amen. Richard, corruption is relative. For instance, a friend owns an upper end restaurant and waiter staff always steal. My friend weighs in this way. What does the wait person bring in? Are they worth the stealing? Richard, I've said this. I'm trying to think of the context of it. Oh, with my poor wife. So my wife is very principled, and I love her for that. I believe that if I say this is going to sound like, I'm going to say and then explain it. I believe that there can be a price for principles. Not all of them, but let me explain. My wife gets upset if a guy came over to the house to a guy came to do all of our air conditioners. He replaced a few and then he was supposed to clean a few, and everything for the labor to do all of it. He replaced like 3 of them. And then he was supposed to take the other 3 off and clean them out. Everything was like $200. So when you start allocating it, per thing, like the cleaning was the smaller dollar amount. He didn't clean them. We were like, why aren't these working? We hired a guy because our regular guy was like out of town for a while. When our regular guy came back, he pulls them up. He's like, these weren't cleaned. Now, of the $200, maybe like 40 of it was the cleaning. Maybe let's say 60 of it, right? The rest of it was the install. That's a lot more work. So to me, it's like, okay, it's $60, right? Like we can move on, right? Just pay this guy and we're good. That's what I mean by like, there's a price for the print. Like, I don't feel the need. Like, I want to reserve where I get like that mad. My wife gets mad at all of it. She's a highly principled person. I just think that like, when we're talking about a few bucks, $20, $50 for something like that, right? Like, well, we got everything. We had the big stuff done. Yeah, this guy took us, never work with him again. And if somebody asks us, we'll tell him to the hilt. Like, this guy's he's an absolute, garbage. He didn't do his job. But like, I'm not going to get riled up over $60 of a $200 or $40 of a $200 job, especially when that, and maybe this is the other part of it, that in the United States would have been 4 times, 8 times as much, right? It would have been $1,000 job easy to replace 3 air conditioners and clean 3 more. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, we're dollarized here. That's how I look at it. So I think on that point about the restaurant owner saying like, what do they bring in? I get it. And again, it's a hard like airplane to land. Some people only heard like, this guy doesn't have principles. You could pay his principles. No, I have principles that you cannot pay for. Let me be very clear. Many of them. But I'm just saying, like, when it comes to like, if I were to buy something from a vendor and they were like, $30, I'm like, I'll do 20. Like, okay, cool. And then somebody else comes up and they're like $15 for the same thing. I'd be like, what the hell? But I wouldn't go back for my $5. I wouldn't fight this guy. I'd be like, whatever, it's $5. Move on. Does that make sense? That's how I look at it. Let's see. Skeptical. Don't get soft on criminals like Canada. It is a disaster. U.S. did some of that too, man. You saw what happened in California. I agree with you. Same goes for government corruption until it doesn't. RAF. Reducing corruption, increasing education, important for DR to advance into high-income advanced nation in the next few decades. Albert, a new prison will open. Oh, that's true too. In August of 2026, it'll hold 8,000 inmates. I think you DM me on this, Albert. And the criminals on the islands will be in for a brutal awakening. I hope so. It just does. It really does like level up a society. Skeptical. U.S. and Canada are or were advanced nations, and crime is more rampant now than it's ever been. Sad, but true. Let's see. Papa Penguin, he's pontificating that I think DR's judicial system makes wildly different punishments for the same criminal crimes inevitable. DR is a civil law system instead of common law based. Case law doesn't bind judges' decisions in DR. That's a great pontification. That's a really fair point. My understanding of it, that feels right to me. So, I mean, I'm trusting you on that because I don't know. I'm not that deep into the system, but that actually makes a lot of sense with like the tea leaf stuff that I look at. So I appreciate that. What do we got from Skeptical? Judicial system in Canada and the U.S. have been politicized and corrupted, unfortunately. Amen. And Papa Penguin's back. No argument there. I also think people from countries with a common law foundation don't understand the fundamental differences here. All right, let's see what J-Tech says. My grandmother had a car wash. She used to tell her employees steal, but leave something. Go grandma. She gets it, right? You're going to die one day, right? Like, I only have so many, like, I don't know, what's the word? Like, I only have so many being like annoyeds in me. There's a phrase for it. I only have so many, I don't know what it is. You know, the other one, like I've said this too, it's like, I think I'm in an age where like I'm offended that people get offended. It's like if somebody reveals themselves as something, it's like, just walk away from them. Like, get mad. You can be mad at people for like, you know, whatever, but like offended. It's like, just stop. Let's see. The spirits in Cap Cana are not happy with fill in the blank. Bobby. I just noticed who said it. I love you, Bobby. I love a Presidente. I like that. Here's one thing I got for all of you guys. Look at this. I went to the store downstairs. And I was going to pop these open at some point today, but here you go. Take the front off of this thing. We got some of these bad boys. Queso version. They only had this and barbecue. They didn't have anything else in there, but to break into these. So I don't know why I brought that up. Oh, Presidente, another iconic brand down here. So that'll be for the drive home. I shouldn't be eating that, but I forgot to get lunch and there's nothing close by. So I'm like, let me go get some chips. I will not. Oh, here we go. We got Claribel. I will not drive in DR anytime soon. You know what's good about that, Claribel, is there's like, depending on where you are, Uber is very readily available. Some people take motos. I wouldn't recommend that. I don't know if you do or don't, but my thoughts. Oh, this is good. Matthew Bolio. I love this. I don't even know what it says beyond the first sentence here, but I like the first sentence. Let's see. Come with me, everybody, on this journey. Longtime follower, longtime silent. I love the growth we are seeing in Punta Cana. It would be great to show a bit about La Ceiba and to create conscious about sustainable development for all. The sustainable, I love it. Thank you for the comment. The sustainable development is more and more something that I'm featuring. I don't know if you saw on this one, I guess it's Matthew or any of you, but I did a full feature on waste management with Jake Keel, who's the head of the foundation locally, head of all the waste management in Punta Cana. And it was really, really interesting. And we talked in that about the trust fund the government created about maybe a year ago that's funneling in to other waste management facilities here, San Francisco de Macorís. There's one in Santo Domingo Este, and there's a few others around the country. And look, when a business owner sees government money coming in, they're like, oh, I'm in waste management now. But the key to that is they'll be able to go out, put value on garbage, and therefore communicate to the population the value of garbage that those people see in the street. So imagine you don't need to educate, like littering's bad and we're going to fine you. You don't need to do the stick. You can do the carrot of like, hey, all that trash, go pick it up, bring it to me. I'll give you money for it. Because then they in turn can turn around and get money for it through composting, through recycling, and so on, and through government subsidies. So a lot going on with sustainability. Jake is the leading sustainability voice in the country, and he and I talk all the time. We're going to see each other tonight. We've become very good friends. He's a principled man, and I'm sure he has a cost for his principles too, for some of them. But he's a principled man, and I really love what he's doing, and you'll see more and more on this. So, Matthew, thank you for tagging along so much, my friend. The what I read was the criminal code. Got you. Love what you did for the Haitian kids. Yeah, Matthew, we're still doing. I share updates with the inner circle because many of those people contribute and add value. One of the members yesterday said, I want to go meet them. So that reminds me, I got to give him the information to go meet them and talk to them because he wants them to understand the opportunity in front of them. His family's from Haiti originally, grew up in the U.S. and he's had this affinity. He's come to the U.S. So he's Dominican. He's an American guy with Haitian roots, but loves coming to Dominican. And he's like, I could speak to them in their native tongue. They're two Haitian boys. So it's beautiful. And we're using them as the test case, if you will, for more and more of this. Like, can we raise funds for other kids? There's Dominican kids, there's Haitian kids, there's Cuban kids that are on the streets here in Punta Cana. Like, I want to get them all off the streets if we can. And we're trying to partner with Second Mile Missions on all of that. So I appreciate that, Matthew. Safe to say politics and JV don't go well together. Hello. Why don't they go well together? I don't understand. Because I don't want to be one, you mean? I don't want to be a politician. That might be why. Love your response. Blah principles. You get it. You get where I was going with that. I'm just saying, like I think you have to do a cost benefit analysis sometimes on your principles. Like if it's like, I'll pay you $1,000, for you to go rob a store. Like, no, you can't pay me enough to go rob a store, right? Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Maybe not. Maybe $1 billion. If it's like a bag of chips or something, maybe $1 billion. I'll take that. I'll take that fine. But you get my point. But my point is like for like something like, all right, I know they took us, but it was like a $20. Let's just move on. That's kind of my wife won't let it go. I do. Dangerous driving is relative to your experience. I have no issues driving in DR, but I just got back from Egypt and Morocco. A buddy of mine's in Tunisia that lives here. He's in Tunisia right now, and he said the same thing. Driving in DR is like driving Miss Daisy after that. Morocco, especially Marrakesh, was crazy driving. Norbert, Jamie, just want to let you know that the majority of people in the DR believe that corruption is only at the government. Believe that corruption is only at the government level, but unfortunately has been in our culture since a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know if I would use. I agree. Corruption. You're right. Live. Corruption. Yes, I feel like it's more like corruption is that word is reserved for government. Scam is reserved for like the business or local community. I feel like that's like scammers is the word I hear, and corruption for government. But you're right. It's like it's the same, right? Same family of issue, if you will. Let's see. Papa Penguin. Let's see what else we got. Hi, Jamie. Just joined. Mabel, good to see you. Keep up the good work. Hope all is well with you, wifey, and the kids. It's been a rocky start of the year, but we're doing our best like always. Mabel, I'm sorry to hear, and I hope everything goes well for you and whatever it is you're pursuing. Patricia, you picked the cheese over the barbecue. Yeah, and I never got barbecue. Never understood barbecue chips and all that. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Will Dominican companies start using ADRs to allow American capital to flow through? It's a fair question. I don't know. Ricardo, I had to close my eyes during the cab and Uber rides in Cairo. DR is easy by comparison. I get it. Let's see what Mabel's saying here. I'm really thankful to my mom for all the sacrifices she made while me and my siblings were growing up. We went to a great school, had extracurricular activities, and are bilingual now. Isn't it crazy? You know, like I have kids. They're 10 and 7 now. Like there's no way they can appreciate, nor could I at that age, all that they have as a result of the work and the effort and the sweat and guts and all the things of me and my wife, right? Like, and the same for you. Only when you get to a certain age can you go back to your parents and be like, I get them now. You know, I get them. Crazy. I love it. Senor, what else on the docket? Oh, yeah, you're bringing me back into it. The last thing I had, where is it? You know what? I already talked about it. I was going to go deeper into the Moody stuff, but I kind of already talked about that. So the last thing on the docket, I got about 15 minutes left here. I'm going to do some of these comments and see what questions you guys have. So what's on your minds? Let me know. Drop it in the chat. I'm really fortunate considering how tough the world is being, and being prepared will always be a plus. Amen to that. Claribel, I'm moving to PC mid-July. Do people keep their USA phone carrier? Yeah, I did. You don't need to. I should switch over to like a Mint Mobile, like an inexpensive one. But I keep my US number. I still have Verizon. I pay their all things, everything, whatever it is, like $80 a line. And then I have a Claro plan as well. I right now have 2 phones, iPhone 17, iPhone 15, because I had an old Verizon phone. This one was my old, I had an old Verizon phone that I couldn't get them on the same one. It was a pain in the butt. So I just went to the Apple store in Boston and bought a 17 Pro Max this past week. I got Verizon on there, and then I have to go over to the Claro store to have them put it on there. Long story. I know people have all the reasons, all the solutions. Trust me, I tried my ass off to get the Claro phone on. I'm sorry, the 2 phones on the same phone. They were both going to go on my Claro phone. There are frustrations living in Dominican Republic. One of them is you need to know the question to ask that you didn't know you were supposed to ask, right? And then you got to be prepared for that answer. That answer is not going to make you very happy sometimes. So there are downsides. On a completely different topic, we're going to get up to 18 inches or so Sunday. That's in the greater Philly area. Now you're just late, Bobby. We already talked about that. Come on, man. Keep up with me, buddy. English has allowed us all to get good jobs for sure. Ricardo, in my humble opinion, 30 years ago, corruption was more embedded in everything DR. Back then, I would never have envisioned investing in anything in DR. You know, that's a fair point. As bad as some things are now, they are. I think you had another part to that. Here, much better now. I agree. In fact, my experience in DR is, say, 15 years, meaning when I met my wife, she exposed me to the Dominican Republic, obviously. But like my real depth is probably the last 5, 6, 7 years that I've been like, oh, that's interesting. Why wouldn't DR be involved in that, and doing a little research? And then, of course, moving here just fueled my curiosity for all things that are happening here. And this is a fair point. I'll go back to this. People throw the phrase scam around in real estate way too loosely, in my opinion. It doesn't mean there aren't. It doesn't mean there won't be. But let's define a scam. Like a scam is, what is scam? Let me see. Scam definition. A scam is a dishonest, fraudulent scheme designed to trick individuals into giving up money, information, or valuables by building trust or providing false information. That's a scam. What happens here sometimes is a scam, but it is on the order of like percentage of things happening low. Maybe some people feel like it's higher than in other places. I don't. I've done research. I've done videos on like, have you seen these scams in the United States? I mean, there's a lot. But what people label a scam sometimes is just simply poor operation. Like somebody that gets way ahead of their skis, thinks they can develop a property because they got the land, they have a cousin that's a lawyer and they know a developer or whatever, and they try to put this thing together and not understanding permitting, not understanding land rights, not understanding, getting an attorney to do like a title search. They don't understand any of it. And they start taking people's money, and then they realize like, wow, we don't have the reserves to fund all of this. We're out. There was not an intent to scam or intent to be fraudulent. Some of those turn into that. Like, let's just take more money knowing that we're not going to get it and we'll just go away. We'll fly to another country. That can happen. But scams don't happen to the level that people say they do. In my first, year here, all I kept hearing was about scams. And it was in my mind like, man, they know, not me, right? Like I'm newer here and I'm still fairly new here, going on year 4. But like every year that I'm here, I'm like, wait a minute, I think we use that term a little too loosely. I think we use it to define like the culture. And with kids growing up here, I don't want that to be how my kids are looked at in the world, right? My kids are going to be known. My one kid's pre-K all the way through is in DR at this point, right? He's consciously Dominican. Grew up in the United States till 4, consciously Dominican. The other one was 7. So my kids are going to be Dominican, right? Like they're going to be defined by that. Well, you moved there, you grew up there, you went to school there, you graduated there. Maybe you continue to live there. Who knows what they do after high school? I don't want them to be synonymous with scammers. So I take umbrage when people come after me as if I don't have a right to have an opinion on sentencing guidelines or whatever. One guy came on and did this whole video like gringos don't have a place to talk, shut your mouth. And he's a gringo. I'm like, well, why don't you shut your mouth? Because you don't have children that you're raising here, right? If you're a single guy that's just like humping chicas, that's your prerogative. But for me, if I'm somebody that's here with my kids and my wife and I have consciously together made a decision like we want our family to be raised here, I don't like the implication that my kids, identity, Dominican, is scam. So I think we throw that around a little bit too much. Does that make sense to everybody? Or did I just go on like a rant and you're like, hey, we get it. Just freaking move on, gringo. Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me keep going down here. Oh, I thought there'd be a lot more comments by now, but let's see. There's this one here. What does this one say? Please have a great weekend and enjoy the weather in family. Here in New Jersey, we're expecting to be impacted. Yeah, man, all of you up in the Northeast, well, half the country, best to you. Just hot chocolate, play some movies, have some fun. Gladybell, it does. Good. I'm glad. I want to make sure it makes sense. Skeptical says, good rant. Hey, if you get a good rant from a guy called Skeptical, if you get that combo, you're having a good Friday. You're having a good Friday, my friend. In my eyes, you're a Dominican, Jamie. I appreciate that, Soul. I really do. People say that to me a lot. Some people say, like, you'll never be. I'm like, I don't claim to be. I don't want to claim to be. I'll get my citizenship eventually. I just have to get off my ass and do it. I'll have all like the papers to show like, oh, I have Dominican citizenship. But it's like, I'll trip into this politically. It's like if I'm a man trying to say I'm a woman, right? I'll never, ever be, Dominican. But certainly, like, I want my kids, Dominican Americans or American Dominicans, however you want to say it, I want them to be proud of both of their heritages. And if I've gotten this blessing of many of you saying, hey, we kind of like what you do, or we hate what you do and watch it, and therefore it fuels the algorithm for more people to watch, whatever it is. But if I've got this platform, there's a lot of responsibility with that. The number one is trust, right? So anybody that I refer to anybody here, I need to make sure that I'm always remembering trust. I don't take paid endorsements on 99.9% of things. I make very little, if any, money on endorsing things here not because of them, but I believe there's way more value in long-term trust. You might Hire the realtor I refer and they'll pay me a commission. Hire the attorney. Go buy something with Boardwalk where I promote them because I'm bought in with 2 projects with them. That's a bigger value than $100 from a restaurant, if that makes sense, right? I'd rather go to the restaurant, pay for it, and share it with all of you to build trust for higher value. And I'm blessed to be in my 40s, make some money outside of this. We have a living outside of this. If I'm 22 years old and a new influencer, yeah, I got to get paid, right? So I completely get it. I'm not crapping on that, but I think you get my point. Let's see. Nothing like the liberal gringo who thinks they speak for global citizens. Yeah, I don't know, liberal, whatever, but just anybody who thinks they can speak on behalf of. I had a guy, I told my wife today, he might be watching. If you are, I have the same feeling about you that I did in the comments. But I had a guy comment on an older video of mine about shipping our car. My wife and I were in that video together. You can go back. It's in my back catalog on YouTube. And this guy, he commented on if you're on YouTube, you have an app that shows you all new comments that come in, which just makes it really easy to reply to them. YouTube Studio. So I'm in there and I see 4 or 5 comments on a couple of different videos from the same guy, and they're generally tame, whatever, very long, all of them. But then one of them was on the video about me and my wife talking about the car. He goes into this whole rant about I don't like the way you treat your wife on that video. You need to let her speak more. The sound effects aren't pleasant. I'm like, whoa, 30 minutes on a curated video that she and I both put together and agreed on what it would look like to the world. And my marriage, my 15-year marriage, right? That crap just blows my mind. So yeah, when people speak on behalf of this much information, I mean, you see it in the news all the time, right? When the Minnesota stuff, the Renee Good thing happened, it was instantly she was just an innocent mom backing out of her driveway on one side, and she's a terrorist, whatever, on the other, instantly. Before we saw any other angles, before anybody else showed us videos, before we understood anything more about the whole situation, we had opinions. 100%, this is the way it is. Right now, I saw on the news this story about a 5-year-old in Minnesota being detained by ICE and used as a prop. That's half the story. The other half say, no, the father abandoned him and ICE was watching it. But we're already anchored, right? We're already in it. And I'm just can we let this stuff marinate 3-4 days? Let more come out before we form an opinion on anything. It's bad there. It's actually bad here too. Gossip is a big thing here. Did you hear this? Did you hear that? Whoa, calm the hell down. So anyway, all of that is to say, when somebody tries to speak for everybody, it drives me freaking nuts. Or tries to assume, I like to call it get familiar, when they're being too familiar with somebody and what they are and what their life is and all of that. I don't like that. I'll rail against that no matter what side it's on. You can identify as whatever you want. I identify as an angry old man. Skeptical. I doubt that's true. I identify as 6 to 18 inches. That's if you were here at the beginning and still watching, you owe me a like. You owe me a laugh in the comments. If you got that joke, that means you've been here for a while, and I appreciate you. It's really annoying whenever people judge others and dismissing one's personal experience about X topic. It's like they can't use their brain cells, analyze and process the info. They rather assume Mabel. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. What does Michelle say? We see Michelle Zambri. People need to appreciate the content and appreciate the insights. Intelligent and insightful. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. Beltre03. Hi, Jamie. Greetings from Switzerland. Is Switzerland farther from Punta Cana than Germany? Because we had a Munich guy in here earlier. You might be the furthest now. Love the way you speak about our beloved country and our people. Keep going. I appreciate that. Beltre. Thank you just Beltre. At Beltre. 03. Smart people will never start issues. It's always those with some level of ignorance, closed-minded, and without a vision to improve themselves. Yeah, or somebody that's smart in an ignorant moment, right? There is that element of we all want to believe that in a moment we will react in the right way. But I think I'm a smart guy, but I have my ignorant moments of judging and all of that stuff for sure. I think we're all guilty of it. We're all flawed terribly. But yes, I get your point generally, Mabel. Thank you for that. Not Hurts season? You must be an Eagles fan. I think more people are waking up to the way American media works. I hope so, man. Or ma'am. Man or ma'am. I don't know what you are. Because it is insane. Sensationalize things for the viewership and the controlled all buy it as a fact. They are playing with all of us. They truly are. They truly are. Vic Amy says, when you buy a home from renderings, you need to have a lot of patience. Our home will be completed months later. I did a video on this, Vic, where I talked to Vic and Amy, I guess it's both of you, where I talked about look, you want to alleviate some frustration. Find a developer that you love. I say go to a realtor. I always say get a great realtor first. Let them vet it for you, but go through the steps. Great realtor brings you to a great developer. They've got a track record. I have all this vetting that I talked about in this video that works for me, but I think they're all logical steps to vet. Get an attorney, make sure the land is owned by the developer, all of that stuff, right? Like you go through and it's good. The one thing you're hung up on is the developer said 2 years. And you're like, man, that feels aggressive, but I mean, okay, they've done this before, whatever. Make it 4 in your brain. If you think they're a reputable developer, understand that sales, they might try to sell you on the freaking if tomorrow somehow permits all of a sudden come through, then yes, we can do it in 2 years. It won't happen. Make it 4. I have Maple Suites. Maple Suites is, like when I first got into it, it was going to be like middle of last year. Now it's middle of this year. I'm like, whatever. If it's middle of this year, great. A little later, fine. I'm good with it. That's just, again, my principal has prices, right? Like, it doesn't matter to me that much if it's coming along, if it's being developed. They're actually using your money to build it. I'm cool with it. Albert says, help the live stream by hitting the like button. I appreciate that. I'm very expressive, as you can see. Mabel, you're a beautiful human being. I love it. Developer is giving us a bigger home with more land for the same price. We're not in a hurry for the house to be built, so it's a win for us. Lack of communication is frustrating, though. I get it. You got people that don't quite grasp the type of client. Like the American and Canadian client have certain expectations that the Dominican developer doesn't always understand. And that's okay. It's just not right, wrong. It's just, you get it. That identification, can your wife parallel park? My wife, I hope she never sees this. My wife does better with parallel parking than I do. I can parallel park, but she is much better at it than I am, believe it or not. Someone once told me people can say whatever they want. You take what you want from it, if anything appeals to you, and throw out the rest. So what, Regina? I love it. 618, I think you may have covered that in your pre-show because I think, I didn't catch it. Yeah, I did. I'm just messing with you, Bobby. News media is marketing at its finest. Storm coming and Home Depot sells all of its snow blowers and generators salt. I remember in COVID, like I was that crazy American running out to get toilet paper. My wife grew up, in Higuay and Bani for a period of time. And she's like, we can just wash it. If we run out of toilet paper, like why are you getting up at 4 a.m. to go to Meijer and Target for the early shipment of toilet paper? And why do we have 70,000 roll? I was that guy. I'm going to admit it. My wife's like, we can just wash it, right? Like she's so much more unaffected by that. And in fact, I'll say this, some of you may not like it, but I didn't get vaccinated because my wife was like, no. And she didn't either. None of us did. She's like, no. Let's see what this all becomes in a few years. Very wise lady. Beautiful, wise, smart. She's incredible. Payroll 16 to 18 inches of what? On that note, we're going to end it. You can make the assumption and you know what it was, and we will go from there. I was the toilet paper guy, skeptical. Everybody, I love you. I appreciate you being on here. Be back next week live. I got to go get my kids from school, so I got to cut it right here. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to do a pre-show next week as well. So come 15 minutes early for Q&A. We'll just banter, have fun. And then when this gets released, YouTube processes it. I'll cut that off so it won't be part of the final replay. But I appreciate everything that you guys do. And thank you for being here. I'll see you all next week.